Namaste, good morning, and welcome once again, viewers, to another episode of the Dekho Apna Desh series. It gives me immense pleasure to mention that today we are bringing to you the 62nd webinar in this amazing series of discovering the incredible India and bringing to you the jewels and the gems, the natural and the man made splendor that I think is India. And we've been saying this to all of you that while this is a time for us to be seeing a lot of places from home, because we still need to respect the COVID protocols, but nothing stops you from putting them in your diary, in your travel diary. And as soon as travel opens again and truly opens again, that's the time when you should be ticking off. It should be in your bucket list. And believe me, viewers, I'm sure you'll spend your lifetime and even the destinations that we are showing you through Dekho Apna Desh in our beautiful, incredible India will also not get all ticked off. So do remain in India and do encourage your own country's people. And I'm going to today introduce you, therefore, to somebody who's been doing incredible work for Incredible India. And I'm sure when you looked at the subject that we sent out today, river cruising, everybody must have wondered, oh, how much of it is really there in our country? Well, let me tell you that today's presenter, Mr. Raj Singh, welcome, Mr. Raj Singh. It's
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to have you with us. He's been in the hospitality trade for 40 years. And he started off from a very landlocked place, and that was in Bharatpur in Rajasthan, the bird sanctuary. In fact, he has to his credit three books that he's written on wildlife and also a book on birds and on nature parks. But the traveler in him, I think the entrepreneur in him, and just the India lover in him made him foray into a terrain that was not thought of that it could even happen in India was river cruising. And he started looking at the prospects and how he took it forward. The journey, he says, started from 2005 somewhere on this particular dimension of travel. And what was so endearing as I was talking to him was that he said there was a misconception. Indians nahi kar sakte hain. Indians cannot do it. And what is so amazing, therefore, in the enterprise that Mr. Singh has set up for all of us to enjoy is that it is by the Indians, run by the Indians, and not necessarily that the travelers are Indian. And so I think it's a great initiative and a great effort on the part of Mr. Singh and all his team members that they have crafted and curated such an amazing product for showcasing so many splendors that define India. I must also mention to all of you that the river cruise that he manages and runs has been voted as one of the six best river journeys in the world. Now, if that's not an honor, what it is? Well, there are so many other things that he's going to tell you about, all the cruises that they do for now and all the cruises that are in pipeline. He was telling us about Tripura, Odisha, and so many other places. I'm not going to tell you everything. But I am going to tell you something else that happened yesterday and is also happening today is that the Honorable Prime Minister is in Kevadia. He's there where we have the world's tallest statue at a towering 182 meters, right? It's the world's tallest statue and interestingly, made in the shortest possible time. It was just visualized by the Honorable PM when he was the Chief Minister in Gujarat in 2013. And in 5 years, or rather less than 5 years actually, it was ready for all of us to be there. Today and yesterday, the Honorable Prime Minister has inaugurated 17 different projects in that particular location. And interestingly, one of those 17 is also a ferry service. And it's called the Ekta Cruise. It's the Ekta Cruise service. It's a ferry ride that starts from the Shreshth Bharat Bhavan and it goes to the Statue of Unity in Kevadia. It's about a 40-minute ride in the ferry. There are capacity of 200 people to travel. There's a new Gora bridge. It's a 6 kilometer ferry service. So it's of course very different from the subject that we are bringing to you today, cruise, but somewhere it also tells you the potential of water as a transport carrier and also a medium where lots and lots of beautiful memories can be made. But then there's also, I must mention that there is a Sardar Patel Zoological Park, there's an Ekta Mall, there's a Children Nutrition Park. So there's so much coming up in Kevadia around the Statue of Unity. And of course, just the fact that it's the Statue of Unity And it defines us as a country where we take the spirit of Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat. And viewers, we look upon your support just the way you've been supporting us till now to keep supporting the initiatives that take our wonderful, incredible India forward. So at this juncture, I welcome Mr. Raj Singh. The floor and the web floor is all yours to take us cruising.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Raj Singh, and I would like to welcome everyone who's come to see this webinar on river cruise tourism. So as we begin with, it's a unique way of traveling and enjoying sorry.
No, not a problem. I think you have a video that you want to play for us. Yeah, thanks.
So river cruising is one of the most unique ways of traveling on the rivers where you have a peace and quiet and enjoy all the countryside and everything. So let's go on this journey of river cruising in our rivers in India. This is the map of India. As you can see from north to south, there are major rivers up from north to the south, east to the west. Of course, these are the major rivers which you can see in the map. But we have hundreds of other rivers, and the government of India has declared 111 national waterways. Now, national waterways are like national highways, and out of these national highways, national waterways, the ones which are very well developed for cruise tourism is the Ganga, national waterway number 1, which has been, as Ms. Brar has said, is voted among the 6 best river experiences in the world. We have got Brahmaputra, which is national waterway number 2, which is again voted among the 10 best experiences in the world. And in South India, of course, national waterway 3, which has again a lot of houseboats, everyone is aware of it, and it is in Kerala, God's own country. So these places where cruise tourism has already evolved in a certain way. Of course, there are further opportunities to enhance it. But besides these main rivers, there are many other rivers which we have where there is a tremendous amount of potential. Some of them are part of national waterways, some are not. So to begin with, of course, in the north, Kashmir, everyone knows Kashmir. We have a wonderful river, Jhelum, and you can cruise from Dal Lake to Hula Lake. It is about 4 days cruise, and a wonderful journey it can be. So there are these possibilities. Rajasthan, again, we have got the Chambal River, where there are, again, possibilities. Orissa, Mahanadi, again, has a lot of potential. Krishna, Kaveri, Godavari, all of these are wonderful rivers, have wonderful, wonderful potential where river cruise tourism can be evolved and developed. But the thing is, important thing is that each of these rivers have their own character. They have their own individual personality. So for each, you have to have a different kind of river ship, which would be successful and which would be able to operate these rivers. So that's the important thing to keep in mind. And of course, we will be talking about Ganga, which is our most sacred river. But all our rivers, many of our rivers are sacred. They have mentioned in our ancient texts. And of course, they are named after gods, goddesses, and saints like Bias River. So basically it is our duty and responsibility to keep our rivers as clean, as pristine, and pollution-free as possible. And so that's another thing which we have to keep in mind for the future generations. Of course, this gives you an idea of the mention of the Ganga from the ancient times, how it came out, about the purity of water. Even in my childhood, I had seen Ganga water being used for drinking in the 60s. The earliest mention of travel on the Ganga is found in the 3rd century BC by Megasthenes, who came to the court of the Guptas, he traveled on the Ganga and its tributaries. And of course, since then, the rivers, Ganga and other rivers, have been used for navigation, transport, as well as for commerce, having till the British came. Now I'm going to show you a small video of Ganga, River Ganga, Ma Ganga herself explaining how she came out and what she has bestowed onto us.
Older than history, older than tradition, older than creation. From heaven I have flowed ceaselessly, from times immemorial, witnessing the rise of vibrant civilizations that gave birth to a culture that is laden with resplendence, infinite joy, mesmerizing creativity, science, healing, and immortal sounds of celebration. With my waves touching the shores, I stand witness to the passage of time. I stride the land as music on wind. Join me on my soulful journey through the eastern part of India. Sail along the city of joy, Kolkata. Revel in the architectural brilliance and glorious remnants of the colonial past and legacies. The spectacular marble grandeur of Victoria Memorial, built as Queen's Abode during British era, and feel the incredible aura of devotion and solitude of St. John's Church that testifies British's affinity and enduring love for this city. As we quietly glide and follow the faint sounds of weaving emanating from this quaint little hamlet, Fulia, by my side, this thriving ancient craft, an ode to the Tanti community who settled here long ago, turning this river island into a renowned center for hand-woven fabrics. Get draped in the splendor of color and intricate weaving of Tangan saris that these humble men and women adeptly string together have kept this craft alive for ages. While the tradition weaving art thrives in Fulia, for hundreds of years my shows have solemnized faith in gods and goddesses. I am the source of abundance for the city of Kalna. Clay from my banks was molded to build terracotta temples, intricately designed to narrate themes from Hindu epics, all decorated, decked, and beaming in the age-old art form of terracotta. Discover the brilliance of heroic epics and joyous victories on display. My shifting banks leave the soil fertile for fresh, natural produce to nourish the artisans of these temples and people of the village. Now arrive, wake up to a spiritual morning. The chants of Krishna for centuries echo and waft in the breeze over me, spreading serenity and tranquility all around. Discover Mayapur in all its glory. Take a pause to immerse in Krishna Bhakti, where thousands of devotees revere Lord Krishna in the purest spiritual rhythm. When you see the traditional art of exquisite pottery in the villages alongside Ganga, you wish to join the potters, who passionately engage and rejoice in their age-old art form. Wonder at the dainty and delicate maneuver of their fingers. You marvel at the inimitable architecture of Guptipara, exhibiting the mysticism of Vaishnavita culture across a wide canvas with scenes of ancient Puranas adorning the temples. Around my every bend, enjoy the many splendors of spectacular life in a true Bengali landscape as you follow and float with the water in its true form. My journey is endless through the vast, lush green, fertile land, diverse culture, serene natural beauty, historical legacy, native people, and their lives. I stand witness to the passage of time. I am the source. Seek me out and come and celebrate the abundance of life forms and cherish the experiences that will live with you forever.
I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I am Ganga. So it's Gangaji speaking about herself. Now we'll go on the journey of the cruise routes all the way from Varanasi to Calcutta, from Calcutta to Guwahati via Dhaka, and further to Majori Island and Dibrugarh. Now, the combination of the three routes from Varanasi to Calcutta and Calcutta to Guwahati and beyond to Majoli and Dibrugarh makes it the largest river cruising route in the world. And as we travel along, of course, one of the most important things to keep in mind that we do have the Ministry of Shipping, Government of India, Inland Waterways Authority of India, which ensure that the river is navigable, that it is maintained, and they do a lot of work of actually managing the river so that we have a safe navigation. Ganga is also safe not only for day navigation, but also for night navigation. And we do at times night navigation as well. So they are the premier agency who actually maintains these rivers and ensures safe navigation throughout. So let's begin our journey from Varanasi. So there are different routes which we follow. One is from Calcutta to Varanasi. Then there are shorter routes from Murshidabad to Calcutta, and then of course Kolkata to Shantipur. So there are different sections which can be done, as the main journey from Calcutta to Varanasi is about, or reverse, is about 16 nights. And it's a long journey. And then further south we go to Sundarbans and through that to Bangladesh. To begin with, of course, in Varanasi, as you can see, there are many, in the map, as you can see, there are many places which we visit, which are interesting along the river and which are there. One of the important places is Gazipur. Gazipur is there, of course, which has got the tomb of Lord Cornwallis, which is very well maintained by Archaeological Survey of India. Then we go to Buxar, where there's a wonderful fort by the city, and Patna, again the capital of Bihar. But en route, we also see other archaeological sites like at Chirand, where you have got Neolithic tools and other things. And of course, in this sector, we also have the great universities of Buddhist universities of Vikramshila and Nalanda. And of course, one of the most sacred Buddhist sites, Bodh Gaya as well. But the important thing is, it's not only the monuments which you see along the river, it's the life. As you can see on one of the pictures, the photos of the elephants. One of the largest fairs, cattle fairs in the world is held at Sonpur along the Ganga, where even today elephants are bought and sold. But besides Sonpur, there's a place called Simaria Ghat, where there's other festivals which are held. So all along you see life in its different forms, celebrations, festivals, monuments, and people and culture. Further, as we come down from the main Ganga into the Bhagirathi and Hooghly, in the lower section, what we call the lower Ganga, we see a different architecture. And of course, here you can see which they've got palaces, like in the background is the palace of Murshidabad, which is called Hazardwari, $1,000 palaces, beautiful museum, well maintained. And of course, then there are these again festivals which happen like Chhat Puja, where thousands of devotees come all along the river, and you can see them worshipping and other things. The important thing again is that as you travel all over the Ganga, there are other interesting things. Ganga is very rich in wildlife, natural biodiversity. You do see the rare, highly endangered Gangetic dolphin, which is endemic to the Indian subcontinent. And you do see a healthy population. So as you travel along, you would be able to see special mammals like the dolphin. But along the shores, you also see antelopes. There are islands. In the islands, there you do see herds of blackbuck antelopes. You see blue bull antelopes, and of course, the area is very rich in rare bird life. So you have got Indian skimmers. You've got different species of birds like teals, pintails, terns, gulls. So we have seen over 200 different species of birds while sailing across this area, and it's pristine. There are areas where you see large herds of migratory birds as well. Furthermore, as we come down, we do see further different places like Shantipur, which you saw in the video, Fulia, where there are weavers and there are other activities. Once you come to Calcutta, then you go down south. And when you go down south to Sundarbans, of course, Sundarbans is the largest mangrove forest in the world. So besides the tiger, it also has Asturian crocodiles, spotted deer, and over 300 species. But the most wonderful thing is that even if you don't see them, the vistas of Sundari trees, after which the area is named Sundarban, beautiful forest, is a sight to behold. So it's worth a trip to go to Sundarban South area as well for a cruising experience. As we go from Sundarbans, Indian Sundarbans, then we come, so we are now leaving India. We have done National Waterway number 1. Now we are on the protocol route between India and Bangladesh, and we go through Bangladesh to the other side. So here we are on the other side, and here what is happening is that when you go through Bangladesh, you do go through the Bangladesh Sundarbans, which is an extensive area. Not only it's an extensive area, but in spite of everything, there are no forests. There are so much of forest. There is no one who lives in those areas, and it's a wonderful experience to go into pristine areas of Sundarbans to go through. Of course, there are chances of seeing birds, mammals, and other things as well. Further, as you go along, there are sites like in Bangladesh, you see these floating markets where people come and sell their fruits, vegetables, and other things. But there are also other sites like the 60 Dome Mosque, which is a World Heritage Site, or Sonar Gaon. So there are many other, of course, interesting sites which you see on the Bangladesh side as well. As I said before, that for different rivers, you need different kind of ships. All these ships which you see are made in India. They're made by Indian yards, and they're all managed. It's all managed by Indian staff as well. So these ships are all equipped to go through from National Waterway number 1 through Bangladesh protocol route to the National Waterway number 2, which is the Brahmaputra. The other thing which is important is for river cruising, for anyone to think about, is we have to keep our rivers clean and pristine. Keeping that in mind, all these ships have got state-of-the-art STP plants, which is sewage treatment plants. They've got their own water purification systems. So we are not throwing plastics into the water. They have their own systems of noise reduction for silencers. So there are systems which have been put in place to ensure that there is no pollution which goes into the river and our rivers are clean. The other thing which is important to keep in mind that as we sail along all these routes, we are engaging the local people. And so local people are part of the whole cruise. At all the places, almost all the places, we use what we call electric rickshaws or cycle rickshaws for sightseeing. So nowhere are we using large buses, and that keeps our carbon footprint to the minimum. So we are engaging the local communities. We also go to local weekly markets to buy local produce, fruits, vegetables, fresh fish. So the local community itself is also part of the whole cruise system. They're not isolated in that way. And as we go along, so that's what the different kind of ships are. So basically, these are, as I said, these are Ganges Voyager. For the left-hand side are Ganges Voyager 1, Ganges Voyager 2, and of course, this is Ganga Villas, which is the state-of-the-art ship. And it is a futuristic ship because it can go all the way from Varanasi to Majoli Island in Assam. And it has all the technical capabilities. But the other thing is that it has been inspired by all what is Indian, what was made here, whether it's furniture, by people who came and lived here, whether it's textiles and other things. And of course, has been designed by Indian experts themselves, keeping in mind the unique things we have. And of course, down below we have Noka Villas, which is actually a traditional wooden one-bedroom houseboat, which can sail. It's not stable. It has a capability of sailing all the way from Calcutta to Varanasi or further afield. So a person can do that. So that the important thing is when someone thinks of river cruising is to keep in mind how to keep our rivers clean and pure and pristine. This gives you an idea of the different ships, their dimensions, what they look like. This is an average bedroom. All rooms are suites. All the decorations, whether it's painting, whether it's fabrics, whether it's interior, they have been made in India, inspired by our own Indian fabrics and our own artists. So this is a typical bedroom. This is sun deck, where people can go out in the afternoon, evenings, enjoy the scenery. The thing about river cruising is that when you are cruising the river, it's a phenomenal experience. It's very difficult for me to explain to you how it feels. It makes you peaceful. It makes you think. And especially when you're in Ganga, your feeling is very different. You feel that, yes, in this life, I have actually achieved nirvana right here, because you are in the Ganga, you are in the center, and there's a peace and tranquility which you feel. So once you are on the sun deck, and as the ship glides slowly, silently through the rivers, you feel the peace and quiet, and you also introspect about yourself and life it is. So it's a wonderful experience to know oneself. This gives you an idea of the bathrooms in the suites which are there, including the dining hall. This is one of the other ships, again, Ganges Voyager 2, with a different set of rooms and all, again inspired by our own artists and our own textiles and everything. Views, as you sit down on the sun deck, you can see the view, the vistas, changing each minute as you pass through. The countryside, the villages, the monuments, and the peace and tranquility which you enjoy is there. There is a spa for those who want to enjoy it. There is a lounge where you can sit, play games, read books, and be at peace. Again, Noka Villas is something which has been inspired by the boat of God Krishna. And it's, as I said earlier, it's a single bedroom, one suite boat, but capable of traveling all over with all the facilities, including its own water filtration plant, its own STP plant. So it is a state of the art where we have used the ancient with the modern. Now, the important thing again is that this is suitable for the Ganga. it may not be suitable for the other rivers. So each river has to evolve its own set of boats and other things. This is Ganga Villas, state-of-the-art 18-suite ship, which has the capability and capacity to sail all the way from Varanasi to Calcutta, to Dhaka, Guwahati, to Majoli Island, and all the way to Dibrugarh. A journey which is the longest river cruising and beyond, which is the longest river cruising route in the world. So it has been made technically keeping those aspects in mind. And of course, it is something which will take almost 6 to 7 weeks to do this journey. But it is an experience worth sharing where you can see best of everything in the river cruising. And this will be the only ship which has this capacity, not only in India, but it's with a futuristic design it has been conceived. So this is Ganga Villas. There's a short video which I would like to show on the river cruises in India. Thank you very much. I did not want to make it longer, but I hope everyone enjoyed it. And we look forward to having everyone who wants to come on a river cruising. For the domestic, for our own people, we have these special short cruises which will start operating from December, from Calcutta to Mayapur to other places. And we look forward to having you on this experience to enjoy Ma Ganga. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raj Singh. I think that was a very crisp presentation, viewers. And I'm sure you are all looking forward to joining the cruise journey. But let me also add to what Mr. Singh has said, and then of course we'll take many questions that have been coming, is that when you go to a cruise, I think you're opening up a life unto yourself in a very different way. As Mr. Singh said, it allows you time to introspect. You could imagine just being on the deck and looking at the star-filled skies and just browsing through your own life as you just are in that still moment with the sound of the water, or sometimes perhaps no sounds at all around you. But if you do go cruising along, let's say, the mighty Brahmaputra in Assam, which is and they don't call it mighty for nothing. I'm going to ask Mr. Singh a few questions around that. Is that when you get down, and even when you don't get down, you're actually seeing the farmlands and the tea plantations stretching out as far as the Himalayan foothills. But when you go to places like these, you're not just going for one thing. You could potentially add going to Kaziranga. Majuli Island was already mentioned. I think it has such a diverse and a rich tapestry of the tribal life to be seen over there. And of course, the textiles in Assam, the tea plantations, etc., etc. So there's just so much to do when you head out. And similarly, when you went on the Hooghly in Calcutta, I was seeing some of the pictures, and I think, does the cruise take us to Kalna?
Yes, absolutely. That was in the video as well.
That was there in the video, right? And that's where I think there is a Navkalish that was built in 1809, and it's made of 108 Shiv mandirs constructed in 2 circles. 74 are in the center and 34 are in the inner circle. And I haven't been there, but I'm told that they're really small and they're very sacred. So you can't possibly go into all those 108. but it's an architectural marvel because when you stand in the center of the temple, you can pretty much worship and see all these 108. I think so. There's just so much splendor. And that's where it brings me to my question to you, Mr. Singh, that when the cruise happens and during the day when we get down, how does it really, what is your experience? What's the kind of value that a traveler takes back?
Well, when you start cruising, so basically what happens is that you generally in the every day we do some visits, some sightseeing, whether it's monuments, whether it's villages, whether it's craft villages, because there are a lot of craft villages. One of the most important thing is, yeah, hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh,
We can.
one of the most important things is that there are these villages which make the finest cotton textiles, where even the thread is handmade even today. And these are actually all these European fashion houses are buying these fabrics. They sponsor them from the villages. So basically what happens is that you are able to see the villages, the monuments. So on a typical day, what happens is in the morning, you'll go out in the morning after breakfast for the sightseeing of a village or monument, then you'll come back and then you will sail for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, depending on the next destination. Now, the other thing is on the cruise itself, at certain places, we have got local folk dances, local singers who we again interact and call also on the ship. So that those are the other activities which are there. So, and then of course, also on the ship itself, there are other things like we do have local cuisine, cooking, how it's cooked and all that sort of thing. Our chefs give that demonstration. Or how some of the other things are that like mehndi, henna, how it is put. So things like that, there are activities on the ship itself which are going on from time to time. Of course, people can go to the spa, but also the other thing is you can peacefully read a book. So basically there is sightseeing for 2 to 3 hours and then you are sailing. And then you sail till the evening and you anchor at the next place what it is. Sometimes you do the sightseeing in the afternoon. So depending on the sailing, and sometimes at some places you are doing a sightseeing for the full day because there's so much there to see, especially if you're going to go to Bodh Gaya or Nalanda, then it's a full day trip. So you come back. So each day varies. It's not constant, it's changing. So that's what it is.
Bharti, I think, has something to ask of you.
Yeah, Mr. Raj Singh, one thing like we've heard about this cruises starting from Calcutta, going up to Varanasi, but then Ganga is a long river. Like, what about other cities like Allahabad, Kanpur, and there are furthermore bigger cities? So, is there any provision of seeing these cities also on cruise? And
Yes.
then we are also getting questions from viewers. The second question is, okay, we have cruise on Ganga, we have cruise on Brahmaputra. What about the other major rivers? Are there some cruises running there as well?
Okay. First of all, when you said from beyond Varanasi, yes, you can go up to Allahabad. You can cruise up to Allahabad, and that's possible because the national waterway actually starts from Allahabad, national waterway number 1, which is the like a national highway, So you can go, but then the thing is that because of the water conditions, it may not be possible all the time, but up to Allahabad. But beyond Allahabad, the water levels are less. So technically, it's not possible for our cruise ships. Yes, there could be other small cruise ships with smaller draft. It's possible to go beyond that. But for that, as I said, each river has its own character. So according to the water levels, you could do that. Now, I hope that answers your first question. Ms. Bharti?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Now, the second question is cruising on the other rivers. Yes, as I said, Ganga, yes, it's there. Brahmaputra, yes, it's there. Indo-Protocol route, it's there. Then, of course, there are cruises in Kerala, the houseboat cruises. The thing is, when we say of river cruises, I mean, there are sea cruises, then there are river cruises. Among the river cruises, also there are city cruises, like go around the city. Then there are short day cruises. And then there are short duration sort of other cruises. And the river cruises is something which goes beyond, say, 100 kilometers and you stay multiple nights. So basically in that category, there are not very many, I don't think so there are any other rivers which have that facility at present. But there is a potential. There is a potential in Mahanadi in Orissa, Narmada in MP and Gujarat, both the rivers, they have their areas. Krishna, Godavari, Kaveri. So I can name you many rivers. As I said, there's another river called Gomti in Tripura. Wonderful. So there are many rivers which have that thing. But river cruising is a nascent, it's a new beginning in our country. So we are just beginning, we have just scratched the surface. As I said, how many people have thought that you can cruise from the Dal Lake in Jhelum to Wular Lake? Wonderful area. Or the Byas in Punjab. Has the government of Punjab ever thought about it? They should. If not, the state of Kashmir should think about it. And that's where the potential lies. So there is a potential. So it can be done, but at other places, yes, in Godavari, there may be day cruises. I mean, there are places like there, day cruises or something like that. Similarly, in some of the places, what they have is city cruises in rivers. Like for a couple of hours, they'll have day cruises. That's all they have in other, but nothing, not a river cruise of what we are talking about.
Okay, one more question from the point of view of an entrepreneur. Okay, this is from the point of view of the tourist. But as an entrepreneur, if I want to start something, I want to get into a cruising, or maybe I get into this business. So what a person has to look forward if he wants to start something like a cruise, a river cruise?
Well, okay, it's to start a river cruise. Of course, one of the important things is, as I've said and I've been saying, first of all, each river is different. So first you've got to know that river, what that river needs technically, what sort of ship will actually function in that. So you have to have that design according to what will sustain in that. That's the number one thing. The second thing after that is to know exactly what your market is. Whom are you going to sell? Are you going to sell for domestic or international conferences, what it is? So that would be the second thing. And of course, the other thing which is important is that it's something you have to be passionate about. You have to be really into it. If you make into it, it will work, but it cannot be replicated. You can't take Ganga ji to Godavari or Godavari back to Jhelum. Each thing is different. So it's that studying each river technically, making the ship which suits them, knowing what the traditions, customs, and the local situation is there. You have to also know about it, and then it can work.
Fantastic. And that brings me to a question being asked by a very regular person who joins with us, Sariputra Ramteke. The question goes that would cruise tourism create job opportunities for the native people? I'm sure you're going to say a big yes, but if you could just explain the kind of jobs that it throws up.
I mean, river cruise tourism for each, I mean, for us, basically, like we will have now 5 ships. So we will, if not directly, indirectly, or as I said, we are an Indian company, based in India, everything is Indian. Our ships are made in India. And we follow the thing. So one important thing is because we are an Indian company and we have Indian staff, and we employ all the Indian staff itself. So I can say with the authority that yes, it does create it creates a lot of direct and indirect job opportunities. And as I said, we use at all the places like Kalna, we are using rickshaw people or cycle rickshaw or electric rickshaw. So there may be 50 or 100 of them who are regularly getting that salaries, and we are there only for 2 hours, but in 2 hours, we give them the amount of money they'll earn in the full day. In Murshidabad, we are using the horse cart, the traditional horse cart. So at all these different places, we are using and involving the local people. If not directly, indirectly, we are doing purchasing, but also, as I've said, all our staff is Indian. They are from the state of Orissa. Our captains are from Orissa, West Bengal. We have people on our ships from Punjab, from Uttarakhand. So so there is a tremendous amount of opportunity for creating direct and indirect job employment. It's a phenomenal thing. Also, the other thing is that once It also gives a lot to these small places which are not on the tourist map. People see all the places we visit are difficult to visit. There are no hotels. So this is the best way to visit those places. So all the people are aware. So indirectly that community is also getting involved. Once they see people coming to see their monuments. So all these monuments are actually very well kept by archaeological state or state, archaeology. But also the other thing is the Inland Waterways Authority of India, Ministry of Shipping, they maintain the rivers well. All the channels, the surveys, they do a great job where it's safe navigation day or night. So there is tremendous amount of opportunities. The government is doing a tremendous amount of course, activities along the rivers for that. And river cruise tourism is not only on the Ganga and Brahmaputra, these rivers, but also along all the rivers. So we could do that. Tremendous, I mean, just to think of river cruise from Dal Lake to Wolar Lake. What a wonderful experience. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, you can't even, you just have to visualize the vistas, the experiences. Similarly in Punjab. So that and these are the places that no one goes. Tripura, the Gomti River, there are rock cut carvings along the river. We have sent a proposal to Tripura. Now it's up to them to how they come. So there is tremendous to areas which are not on the main tourist circuit. That's the important thing. Employment there and all.
Well, I'm sure your passion is coming through, and I'm getting a lot of comments. It's a niche subject. In India, I think a lot of us have not even known that such amazing products already exist and that there is potential for so much more. So I think listening to Mr. Singh is giving everybody a lot of ideas. We're already looking up at the website. But I, at this point, also want to ask you on another dimension around particularly cruise tourism. There is a conception that it's very extremely expensive. Well, it is a niche kind of a product, so it probably is a little more expensive. But how are you targeting at whetting the domestic demand?
For the domestic, one of the things is that we have actually launched our products for domestic tourism, where we are doing 2 nights, 3-day cruises. And we have had a tremendous amount of response. We have received a response. So we are having scheduled departures. And let me tell you one thing, cost-wise, we have kept it very competitive. The thing is that if you stay in a good hotel, for what you pay in your accommodations, meals, and other things, that's all inclusive. And it's a wonderful way of experiencing. So we do have scheduled departures from December onwards for every weekend departures. We also have Christmas departures and New Year departures, special festival departures itself, but they're again for the domestic market. And it's it's been priced very keeping in mind the domestic market. So we are into it and we are promoting. So as I said, it's already there and we have had a phenomenal response for the scheduled departures, but also for other things like functions. People want to do some kind of functions, private functions for conferences and all. So we are again getting a lot of response on that aspect as well.
Well, yes, considering that civilizations like India, which are very ancient, life itself used to come along the rivers. I think we just need to reclaim that as a medium of not just transportation, but actually living part of our lives in waterways. At that point, Mr. Singh, a question which is being asked by many viewers is that for the Bangladesh leg of the cruise, is there a visa required?
For Indian citizens, yes. For Indian citizens, there is a visa required. But the good thing is that the government of India, the Ministry of Shipping and others, and Inland Waterways Authority of India, they assist us. IWI, Inland Waterways Authority of India, goes out of its way to ensure that these cruises run smoothly, safely, and securely. So basically, the thing is that immigration and custom is done on the Indo-Bangladesh border, and sometimes it's even done in Calcutta, and then you sail up to the border, and of course the government of Bangladesh has been very proactive, very cooperative, and their people also come and do that right there on the river itself, immigrations and customs. So the Indian citizens definitely need a visa, that sort of thing. So that's what it is. But the foreigners don't need a visa. I mean, that's the reason is because the Bangladeshi citizens coming to India need a visa, Indian citizens need a visa. So whether you go by air or river or sea, the same rule applies.
All right. And of course, viewers, some of you are asking that how can you access this recording later to revisit? Well, the recordings go on the Ministry of Tourism's website after a few hours. In fact, not only this one, but the 61 webinars done before this are also available as a repository. And we encourage all of you to share it with family, friends, people overseas, wherever you feel that you would like to share, because this is your incredible India. And the more you share, I'm sure it just gives us that much more opportunity of showcasing our beautiful country to people all across the world. Coming to a question from Mr. Pratik Hira. Pratik has in fact been part of the presentations that we did one day on Awadh. And Pratik has a question for you from Lucknow. He says, as a cruise operator, what are the real issues you faced or face when you deal with government authorities or local issues, etc.? I want to know the speed breakers that as a business person you are facing or have faced in this domain.
Well, we have operated on national waterways. And as I've said, national waterways are like national highways. So basically, when you operate on national waterways, you don't have to take any permission from any authority. The only authority which is involved in that is Inland Waterways Authority of India, the Government of India, Ministry of Shipping. So basically, you have to coordinate with them. And as long as you're on the river, you're fine. But the thing is, the challenge is that when you go to any of the states, you have to follow the rules and regulations of each of those states. So that's the thing. Of course, the most important thing is the technical challenges of the river, because the river is changing every few days. The channels are changing. So whatever vessel, whatever project you have to keep in mind that those ships are capable, or those vessels are capable of going through those areas and all. There were issues, for example, in Varanasi, which has been removed because earlier the ships could not go through the Varanasi area because of the turtle sanctuary. Now they have made, you could go through that to Allahabad. So basically, we would be able to also, we've been operating from Allahabad itself to Varanasi in that areas and all. So that's the thing.
So another question, and I think that's a very relevant aspect, not just related to rivers, but because river cruising is something picking up, that one on the safety aspect as it exists right now, and on a more longer term, that will river cruising not impact our rivers adversely in terms of river pollution? And so what all should we be doing to make sure that we remain sustainable in terms of using our rivers?
Okay. The two questions, safety and security. I can tell you, we have been operating for 10 years, and the river Ganga flows from Uttar Pradesh to Bihar through Jharkhand and West Bengal, and absolutely not a problem of any kind of, we have had any problem basically of from the safety security point of view. There are offices of Inland Waterways Authority of India. They are aware of the movement of the ships, and the ships are in the river itself. That itself gives it a security. And of course, the state governments, of whether it's Bihar or UP, or West Bengal, have been very proactive. So we have never had any security problems while operating it. Now, that was one question. The second thing is how to keep our rivers pollution free. This is what I have been saying, that we have to keep our rivers pollution free. And for that, it is very, very important. And this is what we are doing in our ships. That's an exception. We have got an STP, sewage treatment plant on our ships. So basically nothing goes into the river. We have another facility where there's no diesel which goes out, when the engines are working. So we have those machines as well. We have water purification plant on the ship. So our Ganga water, we have it, it's filtered on the ship itself. it can be used. We have it checked, everyone. And let me tell you one thing, after it's filtered, we've got like 5 or 6 different filters. The water is more cleaner than your bottled water, as far as when we have it tested and all. So basically, that what happens, we don't use single-use plastics. We use hospital silence, like when you go to hospital silencers to reduce noise pollution. So we are doing all these sort of things to keep our rivers pristine and pollution free. So that's one aspect of it. And as I said, on the second aspect, when we go for sightseeing, we are using cycle rickshaws, we are using horse carts, we are using electric rickshaws. We are not using buses or anything, because all these places we visit are about 15 to 20 minutes walk. Sometimes people just walk, or you can go in any of these things. So this is what keeps it pollution free, even from the carbon point of view. So any of the state governments, when we talk about, we always suggest to them that please include this, that anything to do with river cruising, they should have STP plants, they should have water purification plants, hospital silencers, diesel separators, so nothing goes into the river. And of course, our staff has been trained not to put anything in the river. So it's also training of the staff itself is important. So we have trained our staff, and our staff follows the strict guidelines. So this is how we are contributing to keeping our rivers clean. And that's something which anyone else who wants to go into the river cruising should think very, very seriously.
In fact, I think, Mr. Singh, you'll agree that as humans, as we use the resources of Mother Earth, that's a responsibility that needs to be inbuilt in all of us in whatever trade that we may be, and not only as suppliers, but also as the consumers of these products. I think, and that brings us to the responsibility that is on all of us as travelers, that when we are using any of the resources of Mother Earth, then we must not contribute to the negative externalities, but should make sure that we are responsible travelers ourselves. It also then brings me to another question being asked by Mr. Pranab Sarkar. He's the president of the Tour Operators Association in India. Pranab Da has a question that what is your suggestion for the shortage of floating jetties? And in fact, that's a suggestion that you should be giving to us and to some of the state governments. How would you like to put it? That what is it that we need to do as a country?
Well, thank you, Pranab. This is a question which we've been saying that at some of the places we have given suggestions to different people, and the state governments, also to Inland Waterways Authority, and everyone is trying to do that. At many of the places we need floating jetties. Presently, what happens is we anchor, we have a country boat, so we can do that. So we are operating, it's not that, but to have jetties. Now, the importance of jetties is very important, again, from the pollution point of view. Now, in this case, the only jetties we have, so the floating jetties should have electric connection. Electric connection, they should have a place where there's waste disposal place. They should also have some other basic amenities. Now, what will the electric connections do with jetties is that when we are at a particular place, we don't have to use the generator. So basically, that is again not only saving the fuel, but also noise pollution and all. Calcutta Port is the one which has given us jetties, which has electric connections. Inland Waterways again has made jetties which are there at some of the places, but at almost all the tourist places, we should have floating jetties with electric connections and with the waste disposal and other facilities, accessibility. I'll be more than happy to give a list of all these places, not only on the Ganga, but even we have also talked with on the protocol route. And with the government of Bangladesh, when I had gone with the Indian delegation there, and of course, Brahmaputra. So basically, this is something which we need to do it to reduce pollution and all. And I'll be, as I said, more than happy to assist and give my input into it.
Fantastic. So some questions coming on whether there are any cruises currently in Godavari, Mahanadi, Krishna.
Godavari, as I said, has got day cruises. They've got day cruises, they go to temples and all. So basically what cruises which go around cities, day cruises like that. And then there are short cruises. Short cruises are like what we do in Kerala. which do about 40, 50 kilometers overnight. River cruises, no. There are none in Godavari, there are none in Krishna, and any of the other rivers. But there is a potential. There is a potential, and that potential, actually, one of the national waterways, Buckingham Canal, which goes all the way up to Chennai, is the one which national waterway, which the Inland Waterways Authority of India is evolving, developing, you know. And once it is there, it's a wonderful area to cruise through. So no, there is no river cruising, but only day cruising in these rivers.
But with a lot of potential, right? I think that's
absolute potential. In fact, Mahanadi in Orissa has a tremendous amount of potential. Tremendous. You can do 5-day, 6-day cruises, you know. And we have made suggestions to different state governments, including the Orissa government, and that this has a potential. Please, let's move it. Let's make it. And one of the other things is, in any of these rivers, there's one thing I would like to say to everyone is, it can work. But to work, make it work, you have to know the river. You have to have the right ship. We will be more than happy to assist any of the states, any of the individuals who want to come into any of these rivers, because we have our own technical directors. We have our own sales team. We have got our own designers, interior designers who can design the ships, design the interior. So we have a whole team which is evolved, which can say, no, this is not good, this is not good. We are talking of Goa, you know, how to do it. We have done the surveys, we are talking to the shipyards how to make it, and we'll make it work. But it takes time. So what I'm saying is, all the rivers can work. You have to have an open mind. And if the government of India, government of Kashmir wants to do it in Kashmir, I'm more than happy. If they want to do it in, or someone else wants to do it, great, let it do it. Similarly in Punjab or Rajasthan in Chambal.
Amazing. So we have a friend joining in from Philippines right now, Celia Ranara. Celia, welcome. Now, I just want to reiterate that some of you have been able to join in later for today's webinar, and we appreciate that all of you have other things to do after all, and we do a long 1-hour session, so it's not possible for you sometimes to sit through the session. But please go back to the Ministry of Tourism's website. We put all the recordings as a repository, share them with friends and family. And for all those viewers who join in from across the world, it's indeed so humbling for us that you spend this time looking at our beautiful country. But as soon as travel is just that much more safer after COVID, do come to our country, do visit our beautiful country. And to all the Indians who sign in, I think there is so much splendor in India that you are spoiled for choice. And I really, really look forward that all of you will be making your plans and will be traveling, because that's what it's about, a resurgent India. When we talk about the Atmanirbhar Bharat, it's not just, it's just not a word, and it's not just an economic word. The fact that we are a civilization which is as ancient as it is, and yet it is as modern as it is. I said at the outset that, if we as a country have the ability to erect the world's tallest statue in the shortest possible time, and yet Mr. Singh started today's presentation from a city which is the most ancient living city of the world, Varanasi. Well, that tells you about us. That tells you about our culture, about the diversity, and how we have encompassed the layers and layers that make us the people that we are. So, at that point, we are almost coming to the end of the session. There are so many questions today, and that tells me how much interest has, sort of been whetted, and it is creating a lot of curiosity. I think this is just amazing presentation by Mr. Singh, and we are going to say a big thanks to him for bringing to us a very different vignette out of the incredible India. But next week, on the 7th of November, we are going to take you just a little down the coast, and we're going to take you to the amazing city of Chennai. And we're going to bring you another very different aspect of our incredible India. There are so many questions, and some of you want to connect with Mr. Singh. Once the presentations go up on the repository, all the connect on how to reach a person are typically available on the presentation also. And I'm sure if you just Google Mr. Raj Singh cruises, you'll get it, because he's the pioneer in this field in India. And we feel so proud of Indians like you. You've actually designed and made the ships in India. You run them in India, and all your staff is Indian. And yet you have the honor of being voted as one of the top 6 river cruises in the world. It really swells us with pride. And we need people like you to drive our beautiful, incredible India forward. Mrs. Singh, before we leave for the day, though, I want you to leave that 1 or 2 messages for all our viewers.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this incredible journey on the river cruises. And it's a wonderful, wonderful. I would invite you all to come and experience river cruising as we are. It's a wonderful, it's a very peaceful, it's a very, very personal experience. And once you do it and experience it, I can tell you, it will be there with you for the rest of life. It will enrich your life. So thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to seeing you sometime in India, or if you are in India, being on the ships, please do come. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And Bharti has something for all of you, Bharti.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers. So what we share today with you is a very niche product which we have, cruise tourism in India. And we just started with it. We like the rivers. We have this facility now and something that you can experience in India. But then apart from that, we also want to leave you with these beautiful images of country, how awesome India is. So in the end, we are just going to show you these awesome images of our country. Firoz?
Okay, so not a problem. There seems to be a glitch, but you know where to go, right? You just need to go on the YouTube. There are so many videos that we post from Incredible India on YouTube. They have been there, they kind of sort of collect as a repository over the years. And believe me, you will totally, if you are not already in love with our incredible country, you will certainly fall deeply in love. So thank you once again, viewers, for joining in and encouraging us every Saturday, spending so much of your valuable time with us. Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you, Team NEGD. And thank you all the presenters who have been with us till now. And so at the end, as I always say, because we still need to be careful, सतर्क रहिए, स्वस्थ रहिए और बने रहिए हमारे साथ और देखते रहिए अपना सुंदर अतुल्य भारत. नमस्ते.